Hi guys, this is video tutorial for NeutrinoParticles editor, and in this tutorial I will continue with color section of EmitterGuide. The previous one was rotation, and now we'll try to cover color, transparency and texture grid sections in this tutorial. So, color section allows you to specify color of particle. By default it is fixed value, um, where you can see three components of color are red, green and blue, defined in range from 0 to 1. By default it is fixed value, as I already said, and it is white color. You can change it to red, and let me change texture to something more beautiful. Okay, we have red stars, yellow stars, and of course we can change distribution of this value to random value. We'll have random values for each component of the color. We can change to random on graph to make custom random distribution. For example, I want only particles from in gradient from red to yellow, blue always equal to 0 and red always equal to 1, and green rises up from 0 to 1. So we will have gradient from red to yellow. We can also make something like hard select with red and yellow color. Half of particles will be red and half will be yellow. I can make 1/5 of particles red and the rest particles will be yellow. So next distribution is our particle life. It works pretty familiar to previous examples. On the x-axis we have normalized life of each particle from 0 to 1, and these graphs define how color will be changed from start of particle life to the end. You can see that the particle is red in the start and yellow in the end. We have our particle time, even our particle speed. So some bullets can change their color when they move faster. Or we can change the color of particles over emitter or system time. So it's a pretty simple section, and it allows to specify colors pretty flexibly. The next transparency section of EmitterGuide is pretty similar. It actually the same, but it controls only one value. It has the same set of distributions, but it controls transparency or alpha of particles, which is in range from 0 to 1, where 0 is invisible and 1 is fully visible. You can check it with fixed transparency 0.5 so particles are semi-transparent. And you of course control with any of these distributions that transparency. For example, over particle life, I will make particles to fade in smoothly and then fade out also smoothly. Also, I want to show again how store on particle init checkbox works. On some distributions where it doesn't make sense, it just disabled. But on, I will change transparency to fixed and distribution of color to emitter time, for example. I also increase lifetime to 4 seconds and change color graph in the way to change from red to yellow in first 2 seconds. Yes, let me make it 3 seconds. Okay, I will restart the effect, so all particles change their color in first 3 seconds. If you turn on this checkbox, store on particle init, then each particle will save the value of this graph in the moment when it is generated, and it will use all its life it will use that stored value. Let's see how does it work. First particles which are created with red color keeps that color till the end, and new yellow color will achieve will be given to newborn particles. If we loop this graph, if you want to loop this graph, you need to loop each of graphs of the color. So you can see that if Z graph selected, loop is turned on. If you switch to Y graph, you need to turn this loop again. So I turned it on for all graphs, and we have looped effect. If we turn this checkbox off, the effect became look very different. So without it, the color is applied to all particles simultaneously. And now we came to the last section of EmitterGuide, texture grid. Let me switch off color and transparency, yes. Texture grid section allows you to use texture grids. Let me show you sample of texture grid. These leaves. You can see that this texture have 4 different subtextures, and if you want to use them separately, you need to set up this texture grid for this texture. You can see that we have two subtextures by X and two subtextures by Y. So we have 2 per 2. Yes. Now we have set up texture grid, and we made to start control frame index. Now let's look to this texture closer. Here it is. You can see 4 sub-textures or 4 frames of this texture grid. Each frame has its own index. Indexes start from left top corner. Here is 0 frame, first frame, then next row, second frame, and third frame. So now for frame index for all particles we have fixed value 0. We can change it to 1. We will have first frame of texture grid. We can change this frame index to random value from 0 to 4, and we will have random texture frame on each particle. You can also use random on graph to make custom random distributions, as you saw in plenty of previous examples. You can change texture index over particle life, so it will make frames animation, particles life from 0 to 1, and I want to change frame number from 0 to 4, then 5, now to 4. So we have 2 frames, and during particles life they are changing from 0 to 4. This graph is a very flexible tool to animate frames for during particles life, because with this graph you can choose any sequences with any speed for particles. For example, you can make such changing, so it fast changes up, then down, and up again. You may want to change them just there and back again. In the same way, you can use particle time to have time in seconds on your x-axis, or particle even over particle speed, emitter time, or system time. So the full set of distributions for frame index. So this is for texture grid section, and the last thing I want to show you in EmitterGuide, it's appearance properties. I used them to change texture of particles, so you can see you can make it here. Also you can change material type from normal, change it to add or multiply. You can change origin of geometry of each particle, where this origin is in range from 0 to 1. 0.5 will be at center of particle. So you can see all particles are created with 0 point at at the center. I need to reduce speed to show that. Lifetime 1 second and 1 particle per second, and I need to switch texture grid off, or now just enable it and set only first frame, or even disable change in position, so particle is created at 0 point and stands still all the time. So if you change origin of geometry to 0, the geometry will be moved. Actual particle position will be moved to the left of geometry, or actual geometry will be moved right from particle's position. If we set x1, then position of particle will be at right side of geometry. So by default it's 0.5 and it is in the center of particle. And the rest of properties are related to other sections, which you will not probably want to change by the hands. So that's it. We got to the end of the overview of EmitterGuide, options, sections. In these EmitterGuide tutorials, I just wanted to show you its capabilities. I didn't make finished effects. I just wanted to show all what it can to do. That's it for this tutorial. Thank you. Bye bye.